Space+Lingquan+Farming+Business, Shuangjie, a wedding call urged Xiao Lingyu's soul to enter a different world, forcing her stepmother to adopt a child. Looking at her beautiful but blind husband who was not good at acting, she hugged her thighs and shouted, "Mother," to the 4 bare children, wanting to cry without tears. She doesn't have any experience raising children. The emperor is far away, she wants to run away. Xiao Lingyu, with a mentality of running away at any time, signed a marriage contract and stayed to live temporarily. Unexpectedly, this mother who stayed behind to be the children discovered that her eldest son not only had the ability to eat, but also had innate divine power, capable of killing a wild boar with just one punch. "Son, please don't fight anyone, it's easy to get killed." "Mother, then I will go hunt prey to exchange money for her." The second son appeared to have a weak body, but as he was raised, he discovered that he not only had a natural talent for mental calculation, but also had thoughts in his mind. "Mother, can chili peppers be exchanged for money?" "Mother, how did you sell wild boar meat for 100 yuan per kilogram?" "Mother, can you come up with many ways to make money while studying?" Xiao Lingyu. After spitting out a mouthful of blood, the third son, who couldn't speak, was able to speak fluently and never forget. He couldn't believe that he could memorize a few ancient poems and essays that were difficult to memorize in later generations, such as Shu Road Difficulty, Tingwan Pavilion Preface, and Yeyang Tower Record. As a result, she admitted that her third son had a natural talent for reading. The cute and silly fourth daughter looks much more normal. As a result, she had a simpler idea. The confinement of suppressing blood was lifted, and the innate fragrance was released. No wonder the wild rabbit didn't recognize the tree and wanted to bump into Xiaoxier. One day, my blind and disabled husband became a big shot. Who would be willing to be your mother in Chapter 1? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Ding. Xiao Lingyu glanced at the message sent by Zhao's mother on her phone and ignored it. Soon, Zhao's mother's phone call came over, and Xiao Lingyu's scalp immediately tingled. Xiao Lingyu sighed helplessly, reached out and hung the Bluetooth earphones on her ear to connect the phone. "How did you answer the phone?" "During last night's blind date, you stood up again. All the people I found for you were inheritors of the group. Aren't you interested in any of them? What do you want? You want to be an old girl who nobody wants, and you're going to make me angry. Mom, please calm down. My team has finally developed an anti-cancer drug with significant clinical effects. The next step is to put it into production, and there are still many things to do. I am driving to the city to meet with the people from the Medical Insurance Bureau, and if we can negotiate, it will benefit more people. After this busy period, I will obediently go on a blind date." "Wait a minute, when will you be almost 30 and become an elderly mother? How dangerous is giving birth?" Xiao Lingyu patiently said, "Isn't there still 2 years left? Anyway, it's me who suffered, not you who suffered. Besides, it's not ancient now, and getting married doesn't necessarily require children." Zhao's mother was so angry that she threatened, "You don't want children. Do you believe that our Xiao family is such a big group? I won't leave any money for you, I'll give it to your big brother and sister." Xiao Lingyu is really not uncommon. The special drugs developed by the base are enough for her to eat. "Mom, anyway, the group hasn't fallen into outsiders' hands, you can give it to anyone." Zhao's mother listened to Xiao Lingyu's indifferent tone and became very angry. "Don't forget, back then you planted medicinal herbs on the mountain, built a research institute, ran a pharmaceutical factory, built a villa halfway up the mountain, drank mountain spring water, ate organic vegetables, and spent research funds with the money I gave you. Only then could you develop the special effect medicine you just mentioned. Today, you can go see the people from the Medical Insurance Bureau. You must come back for the blind date tomorrow, or else the base will be closed directly." "I will keep my word. Can you twist your arms over your thighs, isn't it amazing?" Xiao Lingyu suddenly felt suffocated in her heart. "Mom." A loud bang pierced into Zhao's mother's ear. Hello, Xiaoyu. Xiaoyu, what's wrong with you? Answer me quickly. Xiao Lingyu listened to Zhao's mother's panicked and anxious voice in the Bluetooth earphones, and with the last hint of consciousness, she struggled to say. Mom, if I can't save you, you have to take good care of yourself. Don't say stupid things. You're not allowed to sleep. Keep me awake. Do you hear me? Mom will come and rescue you immediately. Xingyi, I know you can't bear to part with your children. Nowadays, children are starving one meal after another. Can you bear to let them suffer with you? In the wheelchair, Su Xingyi touched Su Ningxi's small face lying in his arms. The originally round face had shrunk in a big circle, and Su Xingyi's empty and lifeless eyes couldn't show any emotions. The corner of his mouth accidentally pursed. Li Lanfang took advantage of the hot weather to take advantage of the situation and said, As you please, you can give Xiaoxier to your aunt to take care of. Auntie will treat Xiaoxier as her own granddaughter and will not mistreat her. In the future, you can help her find a good mother. Lol. Mrs. Li looked at Su Ningxi lying in Su Xingyi's arms, her eyes full of calculations. The Su family consists of 5 people, and Su Ningxi, who is 3 years old, is a healthy and likable person. When she brings her back, she not only becomes a child bride for her grandson, but also sells for a good price when she is raised. Su Xingyi was caught in the eye by a tiger while hunting 2 years ago, and since then, her vision has become blurred. Half a year later, I went up the mountain with my eldest son to pick up wood. I fell halfway down the mountain and broke my leg, completely losing my sight. Dad, Grandma Li is bad. Don't listen to her. Su Ningxi held Su Xingyi tightly, afraid that her father would not want her and send her away. Mrs. Li walked forward with a smile on her face, trying to touch Xiaoxier's little head with her rough hands. You go away, you're bad. Xiaoxier's cheeks were bulging, and her small hands vigorously clapped away Mrs. Li's big hand. Xiaoxier lay in Su Xingyi's arms and burst into tears. Daddy, your hands hurt. Grandma Li hit me. The smile on Mrs. Li's face froze in an instant. This dead girl movie, when we get it done, we must tidy it up properly. If we starve her a few times, she will be honest. Mrs. Li took out a piece of candy cake and coaxed, Xiaoxi, Grandma wants to touch you. How could she hit you? You're Grandma's granddaughter, and Grandma gives you candy every day, okay? Xiaoxier immediately stopped crying, turned her head to look at the sugar cake, and swallowed her saliva. Is there sugar to eat every day? Yes, when you go home with your grandmother, she gives you candy every day, said Mrs. Li with a smile on her face. Xiaoxier pursed her lips and said, You're a bad grandma. My parents and brothers say that eating too much sugar cake can ruin your mouth. Xiaoxier threw herself back into Su Xingyi's arms and continued to cry loudly, Daddy, don't give Xiaoxier away. I will grow taller and take care of Daddy. Xiaoxier's crying was loud and quickly caught the attention of passing villagers. Su Xingyi gently patted Su Ningxi's back and coaxed, If Xiaoxier doesn't cry, Dad won't want you. Xiaoxier happily wiped her tears with her little hand and said, Dad said I won't cry, so I won't cry. Mrs. Li saw that her hope had been dashed and casually stuffed the candy cake into her pocket. Xingyi, you're confused. You can't even take care of their siblings. Why don't you give them away? The villagers who were watching agreed, Xingyi, what Mrs. Li said is right. There is no woman at home, and the child is still so young. Giving someone away can be considered a good place for them. Who is playing tricks on my sister again? Su Ningyan, the eldest, rushed in with a firewood cutter in one hand and a wild rabbit in the other, carrying a small basket of mushrooms on his back. With an anxious expression, he was followed closely by Su Ningjie, the second eldest, and Su Ningguan, the third eldest. Big brother, second brother, third brother, and Grandma Li hit me with a hand. Look at your hands all turning red. Sister, if my brothers blow on you, it won't hurt anymore. The three brothers stepped forward together to blow their hands on Xiaoxie. Upon seeing this, Mrs. Li turned around and ran outside the courtyard. She was not afraid of the three children, but the leader of the Su family should not provoke them. Grandma Li, do you want to leave after finishing the fight? Mrs. Li's body stiffened, and a forced smile curved around her mouth. Boss, Grandma Li doesn't care about Xiaoxie yet. How could she hit her? This is a misunderstanding, she said. Su Ningyan raised his hand and carried the chopping stick knife on his shoulder, with his eyebrows furrowed. Misunderstanding. It's a misunderstanding. I was trying to give Xiaoxie a candy cake, but I accidentally bumped into it. Su's second son, Su Ningjie, carefully examined the corners of Su Ningxi's mouth and said, Grandma Li, don't think we're just kids to be fooled. My sister has a clean mouth and doesn't even eat sugar cakes. You've tried to take my sister away time and time again, but if it doesn't work out, you'll hit her. Mrs. Li, shouldn't you really hit the Su family girl? The villagers who were watching exclaimed, Mrs. Li, you wanted to take away the Su family girl 2 years ago. Didn't you get angry and start hitting someone this time? Li's wife said anxiously, I didn't hit Xiaoxie. I really want to take Xiaoxie back to be my granddaughter. You know what's going on in the Su family. Look at Xiaoxie, 2 years ago she was a chubby little kid, but now she has lost a big circle of weight. The leader of the Su family is still a child. Can he take his younger brothers and sisters to support this family? Su Ningyan walked up with a wild rabbit and said, Don't worry, uncles and aunts. I can cook over a fire, hunt wild game, and even take my brothers to catch fish by the river. We won't go hungry. Mrs. Li sneered, You're not hungry. Most of what you eat is in your mouth. Look at your 2 brothers and sister. They're much thinner than 2 years ago, but you've gained a lot of weight. Su Ningyan. Boss, you're only 7 years old, so you can't support this family on your own unless you have a mother. But as a big family, you're blind, weak, and mute, and you're really good at eating. Who would be willing to be your mother and come to the Su family to live a difficult life, said Li Posey with a venomous tongue. What are you all doing around here? Village Chief Wu Qingshan entered the courtyard with an official. Chapter 2. Mother Comes. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. When Su Ningyan saw the official come in, he threw the chopping stick in his hand at the corner of the wall, tightly protecting Su Lauer and Su Laosan behind him. Su Ningxi was afraid that someone would take her away and send her away, so he quickly buried his head in Su Xingyi's arms. Captain Lin, this is Su Xingyi and his 4 children, Village Chief Wu Qingshan introduced. Constable Lin Kun carefully examined Su Xingyi sitting in a wheelchair and shook his hand in front of him. A group of villagers looked at each other when they saw this. Lin Kun took out a torch and lit it, reaching out to Su Xingyi's eyes. Seeing that his pupils had not changed at all, he withdrew the torch and put it back into his arms. Bring it in. Several officials brought a bag of rice, a bag of white flour, a bag of coarse grains, and a piece of blue cotton cloth into the yard. The crowd was shocked to see the official carry in the grain and said, Village Chief, are these grains given by the government to the Su family of 5 people? Wu Qingshan nodded and said, This is the welfare policy implemented by the court this year for the majority of disabled and impoverished people in our country. The leniency allowance coincides with the conditions of the Su family. Lin Kun took out 1 or 2 silver coins from his arms and stuffed them into Su Xingyi's hand. In addition to food and cloth, the court also gives 1 or 2 silver coins every year to help the disabled and impoverished people overcome difficulties. The villagers didn't expect to have more silver to take, but these 1 or 2 silver coins have solved the urgent need of the Su family. I didn't expect the court to treat us common people so well. Lin Kun looked at the villagers and said, I also want to thank the current emperor for caring for the people. A group of villagers repeatedly agreed and said, Your Majesty is wise. Mrs. Li saw that the court had brought silver and grain, and she needed to consider taking away Xiaoxie in the long run. Lin Kuan glanced at the three brothers of the Su family and walked up to them, squatting down. Do you want your mother? The Su siblings lit up their eyes upon hearing these words, but after a moment, they dimmed again. Su Ningyan thought that when he was a child, there were many little ants in the village who wanted to marry his father as their daughter.in.law, but they all despised him for eating too much and being strong. Only when his father gave him away would he marry his father as his daughter.in.law. Later, he had a second younger brother, a third younger brother, and a fourth younger sister, and no one was willing to marry his father as his wife. Officer uncle, we really want to have a mother, but no one in the village would be willing to be our mother. Lin Kuan touched Su Ningyan's head and said, since no one in the village is willing to be your mother, the court will send you a mother. Uncle, really? We're going to have a mother now. Lin Kuan turned his head to look at Su Ningxi and said, little girl, if uncle doesn't lie to you, it's true. Xiaoxier happily touched Su Xingyi's face and said, Daddy, Xiaoxier is going to have a mother. Su Xingyi pursed his lips, afraid that his current appearance would harm others. With your mother, you should listen to her well, he said, Dad, we will listen to our mother's words. Su Ningyan looked at the door and said, Uncle, where is our mother? Tomorrow you will be able to see your mother. Lin Kuan took Wu Qingshan aside and whispered a few words. Upon hearing this, Wu Qingshan nodded repeatedly and said, Constable Lin, don't worry, I will make good arrangements. Quickly, the news that Su Blind wanted to have a wife spread like a gust of wind throughout the entire Hohot village. On the other side, there is a post office in Shishui County. Princess, are you feeling better now? Xiao Lingyu heard Qi Lianli's voice and quickly stuffed the silver bill into the inner layer of his clothes. Mr. Qi, I'm much better now. Qi Lianli went into the room, and the maid behind him sent a bowl of chicken congee, and the two dishes went back. Qi Lianli saw that Xiao Lingyu's face had noticeably improved compared to yesterday, and couldn't help but sigh, Princess, I originally thought I could delay it for a day. Perhaps the Emperor can take it back, so you don't have to get married. Xiao Lingyu, the imperial order is hard to disobey. Thank you very much for Lord Qi's care all the way. Don't call me princess again. The Emperor will soon reclaim my title as the Protector Princess. 3 days ago, Xiao Lingyu opened his eyes and saw not the ward, but the antique house of 30 square meters in front of him. Her body was not her own. She digested it for a long time to understand the situation. She was reborn from the body in the Northern Yi dynasty, a feudal dynasty that was not even mentioned in history books. And the original owner of her body was the legitimate granddaughter of the 3 dynasties' elder Xiao Leohuguo, with the same name and surname as her. On the day of the original owner's birth, the Emperor issued a decree to confer the title of Protectorate Princess on the original owner, and married the original owner to the eldest prince. At the age of 15 in the year of Ji, Zhao's mother passed away due to illness. Due to filial piety, the marriage was postponed for 3 years. On the second day after the original owner's filial piety ended and returned to the mansion, the Xiao family was angered by the rebellion of the eldest prince and ordered to have their family confiscated and exiled for 3,000 miles. The Xiao family was exiled through Huaiyang County, and Qi Lianli, with a decree, stopped them. The emperor wanted to distribute the marriage of the Xiao family's daughter to the poor and disabled. The original owner was unhappy all the way, but when he arrived in Shishui County, he was infected with wind cold and couldn't get up, so Xiao Lingyu came to wear it. Xiao Lingyu felt that she had never done anything outrageous. It was just that she didn't listen to her mother, didn't want to go on blind dates, and didn't want to get married. Why did such an incredible thing happen to her? Not only did she not die, but she also had to replace others to marry impoverished and disabled people. The original owner didn't want it, and she didn't want it either. I lay sick in bed for 2 days, trying various ways to kill myself, but I couldn't do anything about it. Accidentally, she touched a silver note with a face value of 500 taels in the middle of her clothes, which was secretly hidden by the original owner of the Xiao family when they were raided. Xiao Lingyu instantly had the fighting spirit to survive. With money, she went there to see if there was any profitable business. If it didn't work, the emperor would be far away, and this silver would be her capital evasion. Qi Lianli was also very strange. The emperor did not revoke her title as the protector princess, but the decree of marriage was clearly written. Chu allocated the marriage of protector princess Xiao Lingyu to the disabled and impoverished. Miss Xiao, since you think it through, you can drink this bowl of chicken congee, and your body and bones can't have any more problems. Qi Lianli saw Xiao Lingyu's skin was white, her eyebrows were slightly wrinkled, her eyes were hanging down and she was drinking congee. Her hands behind her were clenched into fists. Thinking that Xiao Leohuguo has never participated in party struggles or occupied a team, the emperor is feeling angry this time. Perhaps one day the emperor will recall the Xiao family to the capital. Miss Xiao, please take a break. We will be arriving tomorrow. The second day. Su Ningyan prepared the food early, cleaned the yard, and together with Su Ningjie, helped Su Xingyi into a wheelchair and pushed her to the yard to bask in the sun. When will our mother come? The Su siblings sat side by side at the entrance of the Su family yard, stretching their necks and looking towards the village entrance. Could the uncle who was lying to us yesterday, big brother, second brother, and third brother? Second brother Su Ningjie said, sister, uncle is an official and won't deceive anyone. Brother Su Ningyan said, sister, from today on, we will be children with mothers, and no one will come to attack us again. Sangu Su Ningguan picked up Xiao Xier's small hand and smiled at her. As noon approached, the number of villagers on the village road gradually increased. Look, the official really sent his wife to the Su family. The villagers heard the sound and saw a group of officials guarding two carriages appearing at the entrance of Hohot village. Su Ningyan stood up abruptly and said, mother should be hungry. I'll go cook for her. You guys go pick her up quickly. Dad, Mom is here. Upon hearing this, Su Xingyi's face remained calm, and she sat quietly in a wheelchair with lowered eyes. Su Ningjie quickly took Su Ningguan and Su Ningxi walked towards the distant carriage. Chapter 3. First meeting with the Su family. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Third brother and fourth sister, please run slowly. Second brother can't catch his breath. Xiao Xier, Su Ningguan stopped her short legs running forward and turned her head to see Su Ningjie squatting on the ground panting heavily. Xiao Xier ran over and patted Su Ningjie's back. Second brother, don't run, hold hands. Su Ningji stood up, holding Xiao Xier with one hand and Su Ningwen with the other. Third brother, Xiao Xier, let's walk together and pick up our mother. I saw the curtain of the carriage in the front row being lifted, and a skin that was as delicate as condensed fat and could be blown open by a bullet. My beautiful face peeked out. Shouldn't this be the daughter-in-law sent by the court to Su Blind? A group of villagers couldn't help but exclaim, didn't the village chief say she was the daughter of a criminal official? It's not like that, it's clearly a wealthy young lady. Don't you think that's the official who came yesterday? This should be the wife of the Su family. Oh my God, what kind of luck did Su Blind have? The court should have sent her such a beautiful daughter-in-law. A chubby woman with a round face said, Xingyi was born naturally, and these two people are quite compatible. What's a perfect match? Blind and disabled, this young lady can't carry her shoulders or carry her hands at first glance, and the hardships come later. That's right, I think this official lady will soon turn into a yellow-faced woman. Faded old woman Xiao Lingyu's eyebrows furrowed slightly, and she instinctively touched her face, then looked at her hand, which was as white as jade. It was only then that she realized that she was now a pampered young lady from a wealthy family. Now that she came to the village, she couldn't carry her shoulders or lift her hands, and her character couldn't collapse. Quickly, the carriage stopped under a row of osmanthus trees, and in unison, the magistrate of Shishui County, Miao Xiantong, got off the last carriage. Miss Xiao has arrived. Xiao Lingyu got off the carriage, and before he could stand firm, a soft object pounced on him. Mother, Xiao Lingyu lowered her head and met Xiao Xie's 4 eyes. What a lovely human cub. I saw her grape-sized eyes, thick and narrow eyelashes, blinking with flapping edges. Xiao Lingyu's whole heart was about to turn cute when she saw this. She squatted down with her skirt up and gently touched Xiao Xie's head. Who's your child from? You can't just call someone a mother. Wow, my mother's hands are so soft. Xiao Xie pointed to the constable Lin Kun next to her and said in a milky voice, Mother, Uncle said you are our mother. We. Xiao Lingyu noticed 2 little boys, one big and one small, not far ahead. Mother. Shuangjie blushed and led Suningwen forward. Their mother was much more beautiful than the little ants in the village. Xiao Lingyu. Isn't the emperor going to forcibly assign her to impoverished and disabled people? Did you make a mistake and want to be someone's stepmother? Shishui County Magistrate Miao Xian said, Miss Xiao, they are children of the Su Hunter family. From now on, they will be your children. Xiao Lingyu stood up with a whoosh, his face showing a look of panic. Xiao Xie saw that the hand placed on her head was missing, and quickly reached out 2 small hands to tightly grasp Xiao Lingyu's hand. My mother's hand is so warm, I want to hold it all the time. Xiao Lingyu saw that her emotions were exposed, so she quickly managed her facial expressions and let Xiao Xie hold her hand. Thinking about the 2 mischievous little demon kings in my sister's family in the future, who were cute and loved by others before the age of 3, they were really disliked after the age of 3. Not knocking on the house for 3 days and not doing homework can turn people into high blood pressure. She would rather dress up as a stepmother in ancient times, a stepmother of 3 children, and a disabled husband. I can't imagine the future. Well, let's take a look at the situation first. Qi Lianli couldn't help but think to himself. Hard times are still ahead, Miss Xiao, you must hold on. Xiao Lingyu was lost in thought as his other hand was held by a small hand. He lowered his head and saw that it was the smaller of the 2 little boys, only slightly taller than the little girl. However, it seems that he did not call her mother. Mother, are you hungry? Our family has prepared a meal, let's go home and have dinner together. Xiao Lingyu saw the little boy in front of him, who was 1 head taller than the 2 little ones and appeared to have a relatively thin body. He thought he should be the boss. Xiao Lingyu smiled and said, okay. Su Ningjie. Your mother looks really good when she smiles. Xiao Lingyu saw a group of villagers from afar, carrying long benches and tables, walking towards a household in the village, followed by a group of village women. If Xiao Lingyu was not mistaken, the village women were holding large pots of farmhouse vegetables in their hands. At this moment, a middle-aged man walked briskly from a distance. Wu Qingshan glanced at Xiao Lingyu, aligned with Lian Li, and the 2 adults Miao Xiantong bowed. I have met 2 adults at Wu Qingshan, the village chief of Xiaguihua village. Shishui County Magistrate Miao Xian said, Wu village chief, please waive the gift. Thank you very much, sir. Wu Qingshan stood up straight and said, Sir, the Su family banquet is ready. Please move to the Su family courtyard. Miao Xian nodded and said, Miss Xiao, please. Qi Lianli agreed and said, Miss Xiao, when we arrive at the Su family and sign the marriage agreement, you will be the Su family's wife. Today, I am here with Lord Miao to ask for a toast. Xiao Lingyu smiled and said, Thank you very much for taking care of Lord Qi all the way. Let's go over then. Wu Qingshan saw that the 2 adults were so polite to the daughter of the offending official. It seems that he needs to help the Su family's wife more in the future. At this time, 10 tables were set in front of the Su's courtyard. Each table had a large plate of coarse grain mantou, a large basin of wild vegetables, a small plate of preserved pork with plum vegetables, a plate of braised carp, a basin of mushroom soup, and a small jar of wine. 6 or 7 villagers stood around each table, each with a happy expression on their faces, waiting for the village chief to say, "Open the banquet," before they could sit down and eat. The villagers of Hohot village hope that there will be happy events in the village every year, so they can gather together and each family can make some ingredients for a good meal. Xiao Lingyu led Xiaoxier with one hand and Su Ningguan with the other, following Su Ningjie's footsteps to the entrance of Su's courtyard. Su Ningjie exclaimed excitedly, "Dad, big brother, mother, I have brought it back." Big brother. Xiao Lingyu was taken aback and dared to become the stepmother of 4 children. Everyone was at the door, and there was no possibility of escaping. Xiao Lingyu led Xiaoxier and Su Laosan stepped into the yard. "Mother, I am your eldest son." Xiao Lingyu's gaze directly ignored Su Ningyan standing next to the wheelchair, nervously scratching her head, and turned to Su Xingyi sitting in the wheelchair. "I saw him sitting quietly in a wheelchair, dressed in gray clothes with drooping eyes. His skin was white, his nose bridge was high, and a pair of sword eyebrows lay quietly on his eyelids." Su Xingyi's sword eyebrows trembled slightly as he felt the probing gaze, and he lifted his empty and lifeless phoenix eyes to look at the entrance of the courtyard. Xiao Lingyu furrowed her brows and eyes slightly, not seeing the light in his eyes. Not only was she not good at acting, but she was also blind. She was just a good-looking blind hunter husband who could compete with the group heirs introduced by her mother in later generations, but unfortunately. Chapter 4. Can't let his mother discover he can eat well. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Wu Qingshan walked in quickly and said, "Xingyi, your wife is here. Why don't you call someone?" Su Xingyi lifted his lips lightly and said, "Boss, please invite your mother to the table for dinner." "Mother, come and sit here." Xiaoxier saw an extra table in the yard and pulled Xiao Lingyu to her own dining table. Xiao Lingyu touched Xiaoxier's head and said softly, "Okay. Mr. Qi and Mr. Miao, we happen to be in time for the meal. Would it be better to have our meal before signing the marriage certificate?" Xiao Lingyu, however, saw the villagers in front of the hospital and was only slightly curious about her arrival. The focus was still on food. Wu Qingshan hurriedly said, "2 adults, please come to the table for dinner." Qi Lianli saw that the staple food on the table was not coarse grain mantou, but a large pot of white rice, and also a plate of rabbit meat. He smiled and said, "Lord Miao, let's eat first." Miao Xiantong smelled the aroma of the rice and had already started singing the empty city plan in his stomach. "Okay, let's eat first," he said as soon as the 2 adults sat down. Wu Qingshan shouted out, opening the banquet. As the words fell, the villagers in front of the courtyard sat together and ate in large gulps. Xiao Lingyu noticed that Su Ningyan was picking vegetables from Su Xingyi's bowl, and only then did he realize that the eldest child was the strongest, tallest, and fattest among the 4 children. The Su family courtyard consists of 3 large blue brick tiled houses. It seems that her blind husband, who is not blind or disabled, has good financial conditions at home. Su Ningyan turned around and walked to the wheelchair, grabbing Su Xingyi's left hand to hand over the rice bowl. "Dad, food is here." Su Xingyi calmly held the bowl with his left hand and easily caught the chopsticks handed over by Su Ningyan. "Boss, please sit back and eat." Xiao Lingyu saw Su Xingyi holding his chopsticks and bowl, accurately stuffing the food into his mouth. If it weren't for the empty and lifeless gaze in his eyes, Xiao Lingyu might have suspected that he wasn't blind. Across the table, they saluted in unison, and Miao Xiantong and his companions were also observing Su Xingyi. Xiao Lingyu withdrew her gaze and saw Xiaoxier standing on a stool, holding a spoon and vigorously scooping mushroom soup into her small bowl. Seeing this, Xiao Lingyu couldn't help but feel heartbroken and hugged Xiaoxier by his side. "Mother, come and help you," she said. Speaking of the words mother, Xiao Lingyu found it unbelievable. Did she subconsciously want to be a mother, or did she watch human offspring with a proliferation of motherhood? Xiao Lingyu scooped up a spoonful of mushroom soup and gently blew it, handing it to Xiaoxier's mouth. "Mother blew it, don't scald your mouth," she said. Xiaoxier saw the mushroom soup handed to her mouth, instinctively opened her mouth, drank the mushroom soup, and happily said, "Mother fed it, drink it well." "Mother doesn't know your name yet." "Mother, my dad said my big name is Su Ningxi and my nickname is Xiaoxier." I saw Xiaoxier pouting and counting with her fingers. "Mother, Xiaoxier is 3 years old." Xiao Lingyu picked up a piece of carp meat, picked out the fish bones, and fed them into Xiaoxier's mouth. "Xiaoxier, remember, mother," she said. The 3 brothers of the Su family saw Xiao Lingyu feeding his sister and occasionally touched her head. They really wanted their mother to touch them and be fed by her like their sister. The 3 brothers coincidentally held bowls and chopsticks together, moved their buttocks and sat close to Xiao Lingyu. "Mother, I'm the boss. My name is Su Ningyan, and I'm 7 years old," Su Ningyan said ahead of time. "Mother, I am the second son, named Su Ningjie. I am 6 years old." Xiao Lingyu was surprised when the 3 brothers approached and said, "Okay, Mom remembers you all." "Mother, my 3rd brother's name is Su Ningguan. He is 4 years old this year." At this moment, Xiao Lingyu realized that the 3rd child had never spoken before. He looked up and saw that his eyes were full of longing for maternal love. This child needed more care. Xiao Lingyu reached out to pet his head and said, "Third, my mother will take good care of you." "Mother, we also need it." Seeing Su Ningyan and Su Ningjie touching their heads, Xiao Lingyu couldn't help but curl her lips. "Okay." Then Xiao Lingyu touched them one by one and said, "All right, children, let's have dinner quickly." Su Ningyan touched the position where Xiao Lingyu had just touched his head, and was pleased that he now had a mother. As soon as Su Ningyan was happy, he started to eat in large gulps. Soon, a bowl of rice had bottomed out. Just as he was about to get up and serve his second bowl, he was kicked by Su Ningjie from under the table. Su Ningyan quickly put down the empty bowl in his hand. He couldn't let his mother find out that he could eat it very well. It is because he needs to eat a large pot of rice, coarse grain mantou and wawatu for a meal. It is not necessarily enough to eat 10 at a time. A 7-year-old child can catch up with the appetite of an adult strong man, and there is still a growing trend in appetite. Therefore, no one is willing to be their mother. If the mother discovers this, will she leave in a few days? After finally having his mother, he didn't want to lose her. Just be hungry, just endure it. Su Ningjie handed half a bowl of rice to Su Ningyan and said, "Big brother, I can't eat it anymore. Can you help me eat it? We can't waste food." Upon hearing this, Xiao Lingyu knew that Su Lauer had a bad appetite, which was why he looked so thin. "Second, you are at the age of growing up and need to eat more food to strengthen your body and bones." Su Ningjie said, "Mother, I'm full and can't eat anymore." Su Ningjie handed over half a bowl of rice and gestured to Su Ningyan to eat quickly with his eyes. Xiao Lingyu thought she couldn't run away for a while. Today, she saw 4 children who were still quite cute and sensible. She will observe them for a while. During this period of time, she has been at the Su family, so she has to take care of the children's bodies and bones. Then, boss, you can eat it. Xiao Lingyu saw that Su Ningyan had a strong appetite, no wonder he grew so strong. Second, third, and Xiaoxier, in the future, you will have to eat like your big brother, big-mouthed meals, so that your body and bones can grow strong, you know. Su Ningjie thought that his mother didn't know how his elder brother could eat, so he said, Mother, we know now. We'll eat big in the future." Qi Lianli couldn't help but frown as he watched Su Ningyan eat big. Just now, Su Ningjie kicked him under the table, and he could see it clearly. These 2 big children from the Su family are not fuel-efficient lamps. It seems that Miss Xiao's life in the Su family may not be easy, after all, she is not biological. After dinner, Qi Lianli finished writing his wedding letter and took the ink from Lin Kuan's hand. "Miss Xiao, please press the fingerprint. From now on, you will be the lady of the Su family." Xiao Lingyu glanced at the signature of her marriage letter and found that her blind husband was only 22 years old. She then pressed a fingerprint on her name. Qi Lianli walked up to Su Xingyi with his marriage certificate, carefully examined him, and reached out his hand to shake in front of him. Grasping one of his fingers, he pressed on the ink and said, "Su Xingyi, if you press a fingerprint here, Miss Xiao Lingyu will be your wife." Su Xingyi did not expect that the wife appointed by the court to him would be a well-mannered young lady. Although he could not see her appearance, his voice sounded like that of the young lady in the county town. Now that he can't protect her like this, can she bear the hardships of the Su family? Su Xingyi pressed his fingerprint, and Qi Lianli walked up to Xiao Lingyu with the marriage certificate in hand. "The marriage certificate is completed, please take care of Mrs. Su." "I will bid farewell now," he said. Chapter 5. I will only protect my mother. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. De Co Lois Ara Trong Quatrin Lay Text. Shouldn't Chapter 6 be that he couldn't leave her sight? You are listening at Novel Full.audio. How did he lie in bed? Xiao Lingyu woke up and opened his eyes to see a man lying horizontally on the big bed across from him. Xiao Lingyu was puzzled for a moment, but when she saw that Xiaoxier was still awake, she quietly got out of bed and left the room. The front yard was clear at a glance and there was no convenient place, so Xiao Lingyu walked around to the backyard. In the middle of the backyard is a visible 30 square meter vegetable field, but there is not a single vegetable planted in the field. A row of mushrooms is placed in the right corner of the wall, and a stack of firewood is placed under the left wall. Further ahead is a thatched cottage. Xiao Lingyu walked over quickly and saw a basket of bamboo pieces hanging on the bamboo door of the thatched cottage. For a moment, he was puzzled. Without much thought, Xiao Lingyu held his breath and half squinted his eyes and squatted in. After a moment, Xiao Lingyu went out of the thatched cottage and took a few breaths of fresh air. Surprisingly, there is no paper. We need to use bamboo chips. Fortunately, it was small just now. In my memory, the original owner used a toilet bucket made of chicken wing wood in the Protectorate mansion, and indeed used paper, which was the imperial toilet paper. The entire Protectorate mansion was used by the original owner alone, only because the original owner was the future crown princess, while others used toilet paper. The original owner never used it, and she never used it either. She used the smart toilet a few days ago. Xiao Lingyu looked at the basket of bamboo leaves on the bamboo door, with slightly furrowed brows and eyes, and a pale expression on his face. This thing looked clean, but there were traces of exposure to sunlight on it. It had been reused multiple times, and although solar energy sterilized it, it was still unhygienic. Even if you want to use it, you still have to create your own set. This matter should not be delayed, we need to get started quickly. Before that, we need to eat less and drink less water. Thinking of water, Xiao Lingyu glanced at the small water tank in front of her, which was 2 steps away from her knees. Without hesitation, she picked up a water ladle and scooped up a spoonful of water, flushing her hand. Xiao Lingyu came to the front yard and saw Mr. Su carrying 2 buckets of water into the yard. "Boss, didn't you take a nap?" "Mother, I took a nap and just came back with some water." Xiao Lingyu walked over to take the bucket from Su Laoda's hand and said, "Let the mother come." Su Ningyan saw that Xiao Lingyu's fair and slender large hands were not as thick as his chubby hands. He was about to refuse, but his mother's hand had already reached out. "Mother, wait, I'll put it down and lift it," she said. Suning placed the next bucket and walked towards the kitchen water tank, carrying another bucket of water. Xiao Lingyu reached out to pick up the bucket, but was stunned and didn't pick it up. Xiao Lingyu felt that she was being careless. How could she not lift the knee-high bucket? How can an adult not compare to a 7-year-old child? Xiao Lingyu didn't believe in evil and vigorously lifted it up, barely lifting it up. It took her a lot of effort and she struggled towards the kitchen. Within 2 steps, she put down the bucket in her hand. I took a few deep breaths and felt like my lungs were about to explode. Her original body and bones were not so weak, and no matter how busy she is, she has to go to the gym. The original owner's body is too weak, and he really can't carry his shoulders or lift his hands. Su Ningyan came out of the kitchen carrying an empty bucket and hurriedly ran over to catch a glimpse of Xiao Lingyu's palms turning red. "Mother, if I blow it on you, it won't make you red." Xiao Lingyu looked embarrassed, not only unable to lift the bucket, but also being coaxed by a 7-year-old child. "Boss, it's okay. It won't be red soon. Let's take the bucket to the kitchen together." Su Ningyan nodded and said, "Okay." Xiao Lingyu said he was carrying it with the boss, but he did indeed carry it. The only thing is that the hand was on it, and there was no force at all. Su Ningyan was using the force throughout the entire process. Seeing his face not red and heart not beating, it seemed as if he was carrying a piece of clothing so easily. In front of the water tank, Su Ningyan held the handle of the bucket with one hand and the bottom of the bucket with the other, as simple as pouring a bowl of water, effortlessly pouring a bucket of water into the tank. "Boss, are you responsible for collecting all the water at home?" "Yes, my mother. Before, it was my father who used to fetch water, but in the past 2 years, I have been responsible for fetching water." Xiao Lingyu felt heartbroken upon hearing this. 2 years ago, he was only 5 years old. How did he come over then? "At first, I'm afraid this water fetching was as tiring as she was just now, panting heavily. After a while, she practiced all her strength." Xiao Lingyu touched his head and said softly, "In the future, with your mother around, you don't have to work so hard. I will fetch water with you." "Mother." Su Ningyan felt inexplicably happy as Xiao Lingyu touched her head at this moment. Su Ningjie entered the kitchen, picked up a water scoop and scooped up a large bucket of water, ready to take a big sip of water. Xiao Lingyu was so scared that he quickly snatched the water ladle from Su Ningjie's hand. "Second, this water needs to boil before you can drink it. Drinking cold water will cause diarrhea. It turns out that my second younger brother used to have diarrhea because he drank cold water." "Mother, I usually drink cold water and don't have diarrhea, but my second younger brother occasionally has diarrhea." Xiao Lingyu looked at Su Ningjie, no wonder he felt a bit weak when he first met him. Boss, no matter how you lived before, the food you eat in the future should be washed clean before eating. You cannot drink cold water directly, and you should wash your hands after using the toilet." "Mother, we remember." Xiao Lingyu came to the stove with a water ladle. There were only 2 large pots, and there was no small stove for brewing tea. He could only use a large pot to boil water. "We also need to purchase a tea stove, a set of tea utensils, and a large iron pot. I have to drink this water all day. It's unrealistic to keep a big pot burning all day. If there were mountain spring water from future bases, not only would it have a sweet taste, but it would also be rich in various mineral elements. The organic vegetable gardens in the base are all irrigated with mountain spring water, so drinking it directly is not a problem. But the water pumped up from the well contains many microorganisms and pathogenic bacteria, which can lead to illness if consumed directly." Upon seeing this, Su Ningyan quickly walked to the stove, picked up the fire switch placed next to it, and lit the stove. After the water boiled, Xiao Lingyu took out 6 bowls from the cupboard and filled them with hot water one by one. Boss, when your dad and siblings wake up, you can drink." Su Ningjie saw that Xiao Lingyu had only taken a few sips of water, so he stopped drinking. He couldn't help but think to himself. His mother's stomach is so small, he has a bigger appetite than her. Xiao Lingyu saw Su Ningyan leave the kitchen and go to the backyard, holding a chopping stick knife and carrying a small basket, walking out of the backyard. "Boss, where are you going?" "To chop firewood." "Mother, I plan to go to the back mountain to see if I can catch a wild rabbit." Upon hearing this, Xiao Lingyu's eyebrows and eyes lit up instantly. When he built a villa at the base and planted medicinal herbs, he discovered many wild games, mountain treasures, and even medicinal herbs on the mountain. Boss, your mother will go to the back mountain with you. Su Ningyan nodded and said, Mother, when you go to the back mountain, you must follow me closely and not leave my sight. Su Ningyan was worried that a wild chicken or rabbit might scare her. Xiao Lingyu. Shouldn't he be unable to leave her sight? This sounds like she's a protected person. Okay, my mother promises not to leave your sight. Mother, let's go now, Su Ningyan said, pulling up Xiao Lingyu's hand. Big brother, wait a moment, Dad is awake. Chapter 7. Climbing the Mountain. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Woo woo. Dad, my mother is missing. I want my mother. Su Ningxi woke up to see her alone in the small bed, thinking that her mother had left and crying loudly. Xiaoxier, why are you crying? Su Ningxi saw Xiao Lingyu enter the room and instantly stopped crying. Xiao Lingyu picked up Su Ningxi, who was tearful, and said, Xiaoxier, you are not allowed to cry in the future. You will become less adorable. My mother likes cute children. Xiaoxier rubbed her eyes with her small hands and blinked at Xiao Lingyu. Mother, I am a lovely child. You should like Xiaoxier. Xiao Lingyu looked at the cute little Xier in front of her, her eyebrows and eyes curved. Xiaoxier is the cutest, my mother likes you. Upon hearing this, the three brothers glanced at each other and realized that their mother liked cute children. Xiao Lingyu put Xiaoxier away and saw that Su Xingyi was helped up from the bed by the leader and the second person with one arm. Boss, let your mother come and help you. Su Ningyan gave Su Ningjie a glance, and Su Ningjie released Su Xingyi to push the wheelchair. Mother, I'm the boss. Let's help Dad together. Xiao Lingyu did not refuse. The boss was not only sensible, but also stronger than her. If Su Xingyi's head, which is over 1.8 meters tall, falls and hits her, it doesn't matter. If he hits it himself, it will cause cerebral hemorrhage and damage it. Xiao Lingyu exerted some strength and saw that Su Xing intended to assist him. He could walk with every step, but it was very unstable and difficult. He gritted his teeth every step he took. If she let go of the boss, he would definitely fall to the ground with a thump. Xiao Lingyu casually tapped his pulse, and there seemed to be a lot of blood stasis in his head. No wonder his eyes would go blind, which was pressing down on his nerves. She is not a professional studying medicine. When she was studying economics behind her mother's back, she studied food and drug research and development, as well as traditional Chinese medicine. She was able to examine people's illnesses. She can't perform surgery on him, so she can only go to the county to buy some medicinal herbs that nourish the nerves and slowly adjust them. Dad, the wheelchair is at the back. Su Ningjie pushed the wooden wheelchair behind Su Xingyi. Su Xingyi grabbed Su Ningyan's arm and slowly sat down. Su Xingyi, I'll go to the back mountain with the boss and let Xiaoxier, the second and third stay with you. Mother, Xiaoxier is also going. Su Ningjie thought about going to Li Laowu's house, but he didn't make a sound. Su Laosan looked up at Su Xingyi and walked over to grab Xiao Lingyu's hand, shaking it. Mother, the third brother is also going. You two and your second brother should stay at home, not your father alone. Mother, let's go together. Su Ningyan touched the little paw on Xiaoxier's head and said, Xiaoxier, you should be obedient and stay at home. Big brother will go catch wild rabbits for you and come back soon. Xiaoxier didn't comply and looked at Su Xingyi. Dad, we want to go with our mother. Su Xingyi spoke up and said, Miss Xiao, could you please take them? I can stay at home alone. Mother, Dad agreed. Finally, Xiao Lingyu left Su Laosan in her left hand and Xiaoxier in her right hand, following behind Su Laoda and leaving the Su family yard. Dad, I went to Li Laowu's house. Go ahead. Su Ningjie picked up a few small stones outside the courtyard and stuffed them into Su Xingyi's hand. He carried a small bucket and a fishing net and went to Li Laowu's house. Xiao Lingyu appeared in the village with her child, immediately attracting the attention of the villagers. Unknown villager, who is that? That is the daughter.in.law sent by the government to Xiao today. The uninformed villager couldn't believe it, such a beautiful girl with thin arms and legs can't do farm work at first glance. The government is killing her. It is said that she is a young lady from a wealthy family in the capital. Her elders have committed a crime, which has affected her wife and children. TSK, it's really miserable. I don't think Sue's daughter.in.law may have come to live a difficult life. Xiao Lingyu walked with the children all the way, deaf to the words of the villagers. The villagers just haven't had enough fresh energy, and after a while, they won't pay attention to her anymore. At this moment, several young and beautiful women holding needle and thread baskets walked towards them. When they saw Xiao Lingyu's face clearly, a stunning expression flashed in their eyes. Xiao Lingyu is not a person of social anxiety, nor is he a familiar person. When he first arrived, he gave them a polite smile and led the children towards the back mountain. Du Yingying, the daughter. In.law of the great-grandson of the village chief, came to her senses and said, she laughed and looked at it carefully. I really want to know which type of rouge and water powder she is using. The other beautiful women agreed, we really want to know too. Wang Xiufang looked at Xiao Lingyu who had gone far away, with a hint of jealousy in her eyes. She lowered her gaze and glanced at the yellowish skin on her hand. Why does she look so white? Xiaoxier is still so close to her. Her mother.in.law is really useless. It's been 2 years and she hasn't tricked Xiaoxier into her hands. It's no use knowing, we can't afford it either. She's a criminal's daughter and there's nothing to envy. She's coming to the village to scrape and eat like us. Du Yingying said, aren't you jealous, or resentful? Wang Xiufang snorted lightly and said, you see, it won't be long before she turns into a yellow-faced woman. She is a young lady from an official family, just like those ladies from wealthy families in Shishui County. She has never done any rough work. Now that she has come to the village, there are no maids or servants to serve her. She needs to serve her master and 5 people. Even if she is not tired to death, she will endure to become a yellow-faced woman. Du Yingying remembered what the village chief had said. Although the wife of the Su family was the daughter of a criminal official, she was personally delivered by 2 adults. In her words, she was more respectful to the Su family's wife. Perhaps it wouldn't be long before they were rehabilitated and returned to Beijing. I'm afraid it may not be so. Xiao Lingyu saw that the back mountain of Hohot village was not very high, just a small slope. She didn't know how long the original owner hadn't exercised her body and bones. She found it difficult to climb such a small slope. Quickly, Xiao Lingyu and his group climbed to the mountaintop and said, Mother, the distance is Wufeng Mountain. Dad said he can't enter inside. Xiao Lingyu looked up and saw a continuous forest of deep mountains ahead, measuring a distance of 1,000 meters. A surprise flashed in Xiao Lingyu's eyes. This was still an undeveloped deep mountain forest, where there must be various rare medicinal herbs, pure natural and wild. If there were such deep mountains in later generations, she would have wrapped a small hill on the periphery. It's really not allowed to enter now, there are still wild animals inside, and entering will definitely be fatal. However, you can hire a few skilled hunters to come in and take a look. Xiao Lingyu looked around and saw a bamboo forest on the left side. Boss, let's go over there and chop a bamboo, he said. Mother, wait here while I go and chop. After saying this, Su Ning'an ran through the bushes towards the bamboo forest. Boss, wait a minute. Xiao Lingyu was worried about the safety of Boss Su, so he led the 2 little ones to follow behind. Bang! The mother and son didn't take a few steps away when an unknown organism fell from the sky and hit Xiaoxier's feet. How could one not recognize trees and bump into people in Chapter 8? You are listening at Novel Full.audio. De Co Lois Ara Trong Quatrin Lay Text. In Chapter 9, she is no longer a rare animal. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. 7 or 8 carp came swimming in the river one after another, and Xiao quickly used a fishing net to catch both fish and poured them all into a wooden bucket. Xiao picked up the wooden bucket, which was slightly heavy, and then poured out some of the water from the bucket. Without continuing to fish, he carried 3 fish and walked back. Xiao saw Xiao Lingyu and his younger siblings following behind, making it difficult to demonstrate the skill of pulling bamboo upside down just now. I had to take out my firewood cutter and laboriously, cut a few times above the ground. Boss, can you do it? Xiao turned around and smiled. Mother, I can do it. This bamboo will be cut off soon. Mother, there is a sound over there in the bamboo forest. Xiao Lingyu turned around to look at the gap, and the bamboo fell to the ground with a loud bang. Xiao Lingyu turned around and Xiao picked up a chopping stick to split the bamboo in half. Of course, in Xiao Lingyu's opinion, there was nothing wrong with this intensity. After all, Xiao had put in some effort to watch. Xiao Lingyu picked up 2 bamboo sticks on the ground and said, Xiaoxier, it's quite close to Wufeng Mountain over there. Don't go over easily, let's go back now. Xiaoxier looked at the bushes on the other side of the bamboo forest with some curiosity, but still wanted to listen to her mother's words. Mother, I also want to take bamboo. Xiaoxier, you're so good. You can't hold the bamboo, so you have to walk hand in hand with your third brother at the forefront, okay? Okay. Xiaoxier took Xiao hand and said, Third brother, your mother wants us to walk hand in hand ahead. We need to listen to your mother's words. Xiao nodded and led Xiaoxier ahead. Su Lao Dalian quickly picked up the basket on the ground and easily picked it up. Mother, let's go, he said. Boss, you go ahead, mother. 3 children must be within her line of sight. Although there are no other people or human traffickers here, it is very close to Wufeng Mountain and she is worried that it will be troublesome if a wild animal emerges. Xiao had to walk ahead and occasionally turn around to look at Xiao Lingyu. Ah. Xiao Lingyu didn't hear it wrong. It was the cry of a sheep, which sounded a bit painful. Xiao Lingyu looked over and saw the bushes on the other side of the bamboo forest. Mother, let's go over there and take a look, said Xiaoxier, pulling Su Laosan over. Ba. The voice became increasingly weak, and Xiao Lingyu put down the bamboo in his hand and went with the 3 little ones to explore the truth. The goats in the bushes stopped barking when they heard footsteps. Xiao Lingyu cleared the weeds and couldn't help but take a cold breath when he saw the condition in the bushes. It is a wild female goat with curly horns and a big belly on a gray-white head. Lying on the ground groaning at this moment, with blood still flowing from the neck, as if escaping from the mouth of some large animal. Xiao Lingyu immediately thought of taking the children and running quickly. This bloody smell will attract wild animals from Wufeng Mountain. Boss, take your younger siblings and leave quickly. Xiaoxier naively said, Mother, it's bleeding. Can you wipe the blood clean and it can stand up? Xiaoxier reached out to wipe the blood from its neck as she spoke. Xiao Lingyu quickly stopped her and said, Mother, come and wipe it. Xiaoxier's nature of caring for animals cannot be erased. Boss, take your younger siblings and bury the blood on the ground and the blood on the weeds with soil. Hurry up, she said upon hearing the words. Sanshao lowered her head and began to search for blood in the bushes near the mother goat, burying it with soil. Xiao Lingyu immediately searched around the bushes to see if there were any herbs that could stop bleeding. I don't know if it's the fate of this wild goat that should not be cut off, or if Xiao Lingyu is lucky enough to have mugwort growing 10 meters ahead. Xiao Lingyu quickly picked up a handful of mugwort, chewed it up, and applied it to the neck of the mother goat. Xiao Lingyu treated the wound and leaned down to touch its belly. It seemed that it was about to give birth in a few days. Xiao Lingyu looked at the 3 little ones and saw Xiaoxier and Su Laosan throwing the bloody weeds in their hands into the soil pit dug by Xiao. Xiao buried a pit and said, Mother, the blood stains around here have been dealt with. Xiao Lingyu waved and the 3 little ones surrounded him. Xiaoxier looked at the mother wild goat smeared with herbs and said, "Mother, should we take it home? Now this mother wild goat is about to give birth and will soon produce milk. When the time comes, make sheep milk soup and boil sheep milk for the children to drink, and give them a good supplement of nutrition." Xiao Lingyu crouched down and touched its belly, saying to it, "I saved you. Do you want to go back to the deep mountains, or do you want to come with us?" Xiaoxia reached out her little hand and brushed the back of Shuanmu wild goat, saying to it, "Come home with us." The mother wild goat seemed to understand and made a few bleats before standing up from the ground. Xiaoxia took Su Ningwen's hand and said to the mother goat, "You follow us and walk ahead." Xiao Lingyu and Su Ningwen looked incredulously at the obedient mother wild goat following behind Xiaoxia. Xiao Lingyu arrived at the place where he had previously hidden bamboo with 3 small ones and a sheep. Su Ningwen quickly picked up 2 bamboo sticks from the weeds and put them on her shoulder. "Mother, don't sink, don't crush me," she said. Xiao Lingyu. "Okay, let's hurry down the mountain." When the mother and son appeared in the village, the passing villagers were surprised to see the wild female goat with a big belly. Xiao Lingyu felt a little happy when she saw that the villagers were no longer paying attention to her. She is not a rare animal anymore. This female wild goat is the one. Xiaoxia, third brother, continue to hold hands and go to the backyard, take this mother wild goat to the backyard. The 2 little ones walked non-stop and went straight to the backyard. The mother wild goat stared at Su Ningxi's back and sniffed, then followed them into the backyard. Xiao Lingyu pulled some hay from outside the courtyard and laid it on the ground for the time being. Now that it was heavy and wouldn't run around easily, he circled it again tomorrow and then went to pull a basket of green grass back. After finishing all of this, Xiao Lingyu took Xiaoxia and Su Laosan back to the front yard. When I saw bamboo tubes neatly arranged in the yard, I was truly surprised. Even if the boss is stronger than her, wouldn't he just chop 4 long bamboo sticks into a pile of bamboo tubes while she is placing the mother wild goat? Xiao Lingyu thought about Su Laoda's behavior and said, "Well, she needs to pay close attention to him." Xiaoxia, third brother, go accompany your father and mother to cook for you. In the kitchen. Su Ningjie asked, "Big brother, did you catch these 3 rabbits?" Su Ningyan shook his head and said, "It should have been caught by my mother. When I came back from chopping bamboo, they were all tied up. This wild goose is injured here and should have fallen from the sky. Boss, Mom, come and cook." Boss Su was worried that Xiao Lingyu would find that today's leftovers were missing. "Mother, I can cook over a fire," he said. Su Ningjie agreed, "I can do it too. You see, the fish have all been taken care of." "Is this fish?" "Mother, I retrieved 3 fish from the river." Xiao Lingyu touched Su Ningjie and said softly, "I'll go catch fish and take my mother with me in the future." "Okay, mother. Now that I am your mother, I will naturally cook this meal. You go out quickly." Seeing Su Laoda, Su Laoer didn't move and said, "All right, in the future, you will be responsible for starting the fire and then processing the ingredients with Lao air. How about I come over directly to stir fry and stew rice?" What kind of world has she been reborn into in Chapter 10? You are listening at novelfull.audio. "Mother, I'll make the braised rice. You can directly stir-fry the dishes." Su Ningyan saw that Xiao Lingyu had made up his mind and would not easily leave the kitchen. He had to make this staple food himself. "My mother shouldn't have noticed, he can eat this." Xiao Lingyu smiled and said, "Okay, then it's up to you." Xiao Lingyu came to the kitchen cabinet to see how much inventory there was in the house, and if there was not enough, he needed to replenish it in a timely manner. She couldn't bear to suffer herself with a huge sum of money. There is only half a bag of rice, 1 bag of coarse grains, 1 bag of white flour, oil, salt, soy sauce, and vinegar in the kitchen cabinet, which can be eaten for 7 days. However, this oil is lard and needs to be replenished as soon as possible within 7 days. Su Ningyan breathed a sigh of relief when he saw that Xiao Lingyu had not mentioned the leftover food. For the first dinner in ancient times, Xiao Lingyu cooked braised carp, a large plate of stir-fried fresh bamboo shoots, half of the rabbit meat stewed, and mushrooms stir-fried goose meat. Mother, the dish you stir-fried is so delicious. Mother, I think I can have 2 bowls of rice tonight. Shuangjie quickly agreed. If you can eat, eat more. You need to open your stomach and eat, so that your body and bones will get better and better. Xiao Lingyu cooked a very good dinner, and Shuangjie quickly ate 2 large bowls. When Shuangjie saw Xiao Lingyu bowing his head to feed Xiao Xier, he quickly poured half of the bowl of rice into Shuangjie's bowl. Xiao Lingyu glanced at her and couldn't help but curl her lips. The boss's eyes, which were still full of desire, were clearly not full. She didn't even see the small half-bowl of rice and leftover food left over from lunch in the kitchen. Shuangjie is sturdy and strong, and he is very capable of eating. She can easily guess this, but she doesn't know how much he can actually eat. When Xiao Lingyu finished eating and led Xiao Xier into the room, he instructed, "It's hot and we can't leave any leftover food. Your brothers will have an empty stomach later and eat all the leftover food. We can't waste food." Shuangjie felt relieved and said, "Okay, mother, we remember." Xiao Lingyu entered the room, and after a moment, he poked his head out and saw Shuangjie, a chubby little guy, feasting on his food. Shuangjie also extended her head to take a look, and it was discovered by her mother that her elder brother was able to eat this. Shuangjie looked up to explain to Xiao Lingyu, but she saw a slight curl in her mouth and no expression of disdain and love for food like those ants in the village on her face. Shuangjie's heart was filled with joy. Her mother didn't mind her elder brother eating too much, so she immediately threw herself into Xiao Lingyu's arms and said, "Mother, let's go to sleep." Xiao Lingyu bent down to pick up Xiao Xier and said, "You should also eat more in the future. You look chubby. Can you be a little cotton jacket for your mother?" Shuangjie kissed Xiao Lingyu's cheek and said, "Mother, I am your little cotton jacket." Shuangjie couldn't help but pound his legs as he listened to the sound of Shuangjie eating heavily. He wanted to get better as soon as possible. "Boss, after finishing cleaning up later, hold Dad up to the wall and stand there." The doctor said he can't stand up, but he doesn't believe it. He must make himself stand up. After cleaning up the kitchen, Su Laoda and Su Lao'er took Shuangjie to the backyard for convenience, and then pushed her to the front yard to help Shuangjie stand up against the wall. "Big brother, I'll go boil hot water for my mother." "Look at my dad, I'll go and come." Xiao Lingyu saw a blue cotton cloth in the wardrobe and was worried that she only had one dress to exchange for. It's really heaven's help for her. Tonight, make an inner and outer shirt for yourself overnight to save time. Tomorrow, make another outfit for the 5 of you. Their clothes have turned white after washing, and you can still see patches on them. Before it was dark, Xiao Lingyu found a needle and thread basket in the wardrobe, and based on her memory of her 3 sides, she began cutting fabric to make clothes. "Mother, are you making clothes?" Xiao Lingyu nodded and said, "Yes, each of you has one." I didn't expect her to be reborn through the body of the original owner, and she inherited all the skills that the original owner knew along the way. The original owner was raised by the crown princess, skilled in playing music, chess, calligraphy and painting, cooking and stewing, and hand embroidery. However, cooking and making soup were taught by the queen mother of the crown prince according to his taste. The original owner's feelings for the eldest prince are neither cold nor hot. If it weren't for making tonic diet to nourish her body, she wouldn't want to learn it. After Shuangjie cooked hot water, Xiao Lingyu washed Xiaoxier from head to toe and placed her on the small bed, continuing to busy with her work. With the help of Shuangjie took a shower and was pushed into the room. "Dad, big brother, my mother said she wants to make new clothes for us." Xiao Lingyu said to the father and son, "In 1 or 2 days, you will be able to wear your new clothes." "Thank you, Miss Xiao." Xiao Lingyu pursed her lips and said, "Shuangjie, you don't have to be polite. I am the mother of the children, and it is appropriate to make new clothes for them." You are the father of the children, and if they have new clothes, you will also have them. The key is that this fabric is still from the Su family. Xiao Lingyu put down the fabric in his hand and said, "Boss, let's help your father to the bed first." After Su Xingyi was helped to bed, Su Ningyan left the room and went to a pile of bamboo tubes in the front yard. He picked up a knife and started making bamboo pieces. Half an hour later, Su Ningyan placed 600 sliced bamboo on the table in the yard and gave himself a brief shower before returning to his room to sleep. Xiao Lingyu thought of making white flour mantou for the children tomorrow, so she went to the kitchen. As she had guessed, there was not a single grain of rice left. Xiao Lingyu took out the white noodles and poured a small half bag of white noodles into the basin. Thinking that Su Ningyan could eat it, he also poured some white noodles into the basin. She needs to determine Su Ningyan's appetite and also has a plan to purchase grain from the county. Xiao Lingyu walked out of the kitchen and looked up at the full moon in the night sky. There were no stars around, but the moonlight became even more dazzling. Xiao Lingyu withdrew her gaze and saw the neatly arranged bamboo pieces on the table, quite surprised. The boss is so sensible, he must have enough to eat. Returning to the room, Xiao Lingyu glanced at Su Xingyi's undulating chest and her beautiful sleeping face under the moonlight. Unfortunately, Xiao Lingyu was not a beauty control. Su Xingyi's appearance couldn't confuse her, so Xiao Lingyu lit an oil lamp and continued to make clothes. When Xiao Lingyu made the lining, he didn't forget to make an inner layer, so he had to carry the silver bill with him for safety. It's just a simple long shirt and inner garment, no need for embroidery, it's already done before midnight. Xiao Lingyu glanced at Su Xingyi. Anyway, he couldn't see. He fell asleep again and blew out the oil lamp before taking off his clothes. Xiao Lingyu took out the silver ticket from the inner layer, stuffed it into the inner layer of the new shirt, washed the changed clothes and skirts, and hung them in the yard. I borrowed Xiaoxier's bathtub from the bathroom to take a hot shower for myself, but I had to make a separate bucket for myself to take a bath. At that time, Xiao Lingyu finished tidying up and picked up the sleeping Xiaoxier, lying on the small bed. Xiaoxier sensed the heat source and instinctively leaned towards it. Shortly after Xiao Lingyu closed his eyes, a red light swept over him. Xiao Lingyu immediately opened his eyes and looked at the source of the red light. Xiao Lingyu was greatly surprised and saw this red light emanating from Su Xingyi's heart, radiating in the shape of a lotus flower in all directions. What kind of world has she been reborn into? Is Su Xingyi still human? He's not the sun. How can he shine? After calming down, Xiao Lingyu carefully looked at Su Xingyi's chest. Is there any shining treasure hidden in the chest? Seeing that the red light showed no signs of diminishing, Xiao Lingyu carefully got out of bed and came to the side of the big bed to confirm his conjecture. After hesitating for a moment, he gently peeled off Su Xingyi's clothes. I saw a lotus-shaped dark red birthmark on Su Xingyi's chest, and red light emanated from the birthmark. Xiao Lingyu reached out his left hand by a strange gesture, wanting to touch the lotus-shaped birthmark. The next second, there was a sharp pain in the palm of his hand, and a feeling of dizziness hit him in an instant. Xiao Lingyu quickly lost consciousness.